Hi, I'm Heather from booktubes, and today is a fantasy romance vlog. I'm very excited about it. I am coming to you from the future, so I've already read all of these books. This is the third iteration of a vlog for February. Originally, I was going to do a NetGalley vlog, scrapped that. Then I was going to do Jonte's Inferno, scrapped that. And then it ended up being a fantasy vlog. And a big reason for that is because unexpectedly, I got One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, which is the Shepherd King duology by Rachel Gillig from the library. I've had them on hold and I got them at the same time. And I got them at the same time that my children were going to be out of town. And I was like, I want to just sit and read this duology. If I like it, if I DNF the first book, no big deal. But I want to sit and be able to have the opportunity to read this duology one right after the other. And so because of that, I kind of changed a lot of my reading plans because my hold for One Dark Window had already come in at the end of December, and you might know I wasn't reading it all in December, so I sent it back and put it back on hold, and then it's been on hold for forever, it feels like. So I did not want to do that again. I wanted to use the opportunity that I had them both to go ahead and read it. So I hadn't planned on reading that in February at all. The Shepherd King duology is a girl that has a nightmare. She runs into a highwayman, and he is actually the nephew of the king, and they have a romance while also trying to survive in this world where if you are infected with magic, you are automatically condemned. It's kind of the synopsis. She has this nightmare entity in her mind with her. Then also because my children were gone, I wanted to read Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. This is the first in a series that has been picked up by a traditional publisher, so you cannot get it on ebook at all right now. It's coming out again in September, I believe. And I've had this on my TBR since July because of Jan at Jan Agaton. And she loved this book. It was her favorite of the year. She said it was what Fourth Wing wanted to be. It is a princess who has a connection with dragons, but she was exiled from her country by her evil father and becomes the queen of a whole different kingdom, and then makes an alliance with a third kingdom, specifically with the commander of their armies, and their political situation is such that he's not the king but the king and queen, and he kind of have equal power due to a civil war and a military coup a long time ago. So he has every authority to enter into a alliance with her, basically. And then they are going to go and try and get her dragons back from her evil father. This was on Kindle Unlimited for a long time. It was really popular. I checked it out a couple of times on Kindle Unlimited. I never started it, and then wasn't able to read it because it was taken off because it got picked up by traditional publishers, which, I might make a video about that at some point because I'm kind of annoyed. Kind of annoyed with publishing and their just constant scouting of indie books. I don't know. But I watched Jan's best of year video and I was like, I'm gonna read this right now. And I went to Kindle Unlimited, it wasn't there. And I messaged Jan and I was like, it's not even there. The question is, do I buy the ebook or do I buy the physical book? And she, of course, was like, buy the physical book. Because she's an evil influencer, which insert clip. I got Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling from Jan Agaton's recommendation. So this is her favorite book of the year. It is a fantasy romance that I'm really interested in with found family and dragons. The cover is beautiful. I had a gift card. I succumbed. I was influenced by Jan specifically. Literally only Jan. She really completely, with her vlogs throughout the year and just everything, talked me into this book single-handedly, and it better be worth it. That was from another scrapped vlog in January where I was supposed to read BookTuber's favorite books. That did not happen. One Dark Window and Fear the Flames were both supposed to be in that vlog. So this is kind of a redemption vlog, I guess. And then lastly, I have Faebound by Saara El-Arifi. This is the first in a trilogy. This is Black, Fae, and Elves. I have it from NetGalley, even though it's already out. And that is all I needed, really. I know it has some romance in it. is Black Fae. I was able to get the arc. That's all I needed to know. So that is kind of the setup for this vlog. My children are gone. My house is clean. My husband's on the way home, and I am 27% through One Dark Window. This has magic based on a deck of playing cards that an ancient king traded the spirit of the wood for. So he traded like his soul and his health and all sorts of stuff. So far, very intrigued. Very intrigued. She has a nightmare from a card, like a nightmare inside of her mind. A monster. I'm pretty sure I know who he is, and she had the sickness that everyone is killed for because it breeds magic. She's in deep with the captain of the guard, also known as the king's nephew. I'm very into it. Why has she known him for like not even a whole day and is mad that he hasn't told her all of his secrets when she's not telling him all of hers? Make it make sense. Hello. I finished One Dark Window about 11 o'clock last night. 5 stars, amazing. First book in a duology, reading the second book today. I have the house to myself until my husband is home at 5 o'clock. And it is 10 o'clock right now. So I have approximately 7 hours to read this book and not be at the very end of the book when my husband gets home. Because if that happens, you know what's happening? He's getting ignored. That's right. I want to read Two Twisted Crowns today, but I had the worst night of sleep last night. It felt like I was continuously awake, just awake all night. That's not completely accurate. I think it was like every sleep cycle or whatever, I was just waking up fully. But what a awful long night. And I know it's because I like finished the book and then I usually switch over to another book. That's how I like fix this if I'm sleeping or if I'm reading something really good before bed. Fantasy books particularly like do this for me where I can't sleep. Like I'm thinking about the book. Even if I finished it, even if I didn't finish it, it doesn't matter. I'm thinking about the book. So I have to like switch gears with my brain. And the best way to do that is to read another book. The beginning of one is usually good because it's a little bit boring. A contemporary romance, a nonfiction, you know, something to lull my brain away from the story that we were just reading. But after reading that whole book yesterday, my Kindle was on like 59%, and the second book is longer. It's like 460 pages, according to Goodreads. And I did not want my Kindle to need charged with like only a little bit left in the book. So I was like, no, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll charge the Kindle while we're sleeping and it'll be fine. Mistakes were made. I should have switched to the other book first and then charged my Kindle. Just made myself get out of bed. But here we are. Villains do it by their coffee mug. I've had a very hot shower. First sip of coffee. And then a attempt to feel alive. Robin was right about this book, let me tell you. So, you know, I kind of told you the intro. The magic is based on a deck of cards, and all of that is very interesting. But then the sickness that gives them like a corrupt magic manifests in different ways in each person. So you don't really know what your magic is going to be. You don't know what the price is going to be. Nothing comes for free. Every single chapter starts with like a poem-y type rhyme, mythology type thing, and it's so good. I usually don't care about that at all, but it's so good. It adds so much to the book, and it is just written so well, and it makes so much sense, and it really works for the storyline. So I had most everything figured out really early. I think I definitely, you know, had the monster figured out. Not everything was like foreshadowed for me, but I think that the things that were intentionally foreshadowed, I picked out Bond right away and knew what we were going to be doing, but that didn't ruin the book or anything. This was incredibly readable. One of the most readable fantasy books I can remember trying in forever. I had no problem getting into it, even at the very beginning. And then it was just like, all I wanted to do was read this book. And that is the best feeling in the world. Is when you're like, no, I gotta read this. That's my favorite thing, and that really accomplish that. No problem at all. So we definitely end on a bit of a cliffhanger. So I'm very ready to get started on this next one. I have really high expectations for it because I know how much Robin loved the second one as well. So yeah, I'm just really excited. And like I said, I really want to read it all before my husband gets home, because we have to watch The Traitors tonight before my Fade Blades live show. I will check back in with you at some point, but I'm literally going to lay in bed and read all day. I'm so excited. Guys, I love this book so much and I'm so stressed right now. I'm 78% through it and there's so much going on. Oh my god, there's so much going on. There's such an interesting twist on one of the things that we got right at the beginning of the first book that was like, you know, predictable, cliche, whatever. Now there's like a really good twist with it. And also there's another romance, and also everybody's about to die. I'm so stressed. This has this thing that I absolutely love where you have two beings that can speak into each other's minds, and one is incredibly grumpy. It's my favorite thing. I love it in Mask of Mirrors. I love it in this. It's 4:15, so I have 15 minutes before my husband calls me on his way home from work, and I have finished Two Twisted Crowns. I did cry a little bit. What an incredible duology. There's a lot of things with trees in this world building, and I found that like particularly fun and interesting. I love the way that it ended. There's definitely stakes, but also you have that happily ever after for a fantasy romance. What an amazing duology. That's gonna be hard to top. Like, I feel like that's a favorite of the year already, easily. Robin was just so right about this duology. She's the one that really convinced me to read it, and you know, just kept it something that I was like, oh, I'm going to enjoy that. Like, I don't even know what to say. I've already looked up merch on Etsy. The girl, the king, and the monster they became, just wow, so good. Oh man, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Next, for this vlog, I need to start my physical book. So Fear the Flames is longer than either of the two books that I read last night or today, but only by like 100 pages or so than the one that I read today. And it does not have a sequel yet, but reading physically is a little more difficult with children around, and so I want to knock this out tonight and tomorrow. So I meant to update you guys last night during the sprints, but I did it. I feel like I'm not doing a very good job of vlogging this, but I am so happy about just being in such a fantasy mood. Like, all I want to read is fantasy romance. I mean, let's not get crazy here. Need that romance in there, but I'm like so happy to be consuming it. So I'm about halfway through Fear the Flames. There are things that I don't love, but there are a lot of things that I do enjoy. Overall, I'm definitely enjoying the book. I'd say that it's a 4-star as of right now, but we'll have to wait and see, you know, how the second half goes. But I'm liking their dynamic. I'm liking the found family friend group. Do I have a few issues with setup and plot and like things tickling my brain where I'm like, why would they do that? Yes. Namely, this girl is a princess, right? And she was gifted, like at her christening, these dragon eggs, and the dragon eggs hatched and immediately bonded with her, and she went straight to the dungeon and was a prisoner for the rest of her life and was like beaten and starved and like everything's terrible. But she's also the princess, and I just feel like that doesn't make a whole lot of sense for a child, because a royal child could be like under such strict control without having to go to the dungeon. Make it make sense. And like, I get that her dad is super evil and everything and views her as a threat. Like, I get all of that. But I just don't think it makes a ton of sense to throw the heir to the throne in the dungeons as a literal infant, because she's a threat to your power. Like, I don't know. It doesn't work in my brain. I'm like, so there's that. But I really like her and the commander. Are there some TikTok-y? This would make for a great TikTok promo, so I'm going to write this banter in here. Yes. Is it ruining the book for me? No. Hello. This is what I mean when I say that there are like TikTok dialogue. Angel, you are the sickness of my thoughts, and I have no intention of finding a cure. And then on that same page, he says, I've never been a religious man, but I will worship you in ways that the gods will envy. It's just like, I don't know. It feels like you intentionally wrote those things to be a marketing quote. Caden is a commander inside the bedroom and outside of it. Every stroke he makes exudes power, control, and dominance. You're fucking me just how I want. Oh my gods, I moan. The gods aren't in the bedroom. I am. You scream my name. No god or man will ever fuck you like I can. If I had $1 for every sex scene I've read where they say, oh my god, and then the guy is like, that's not my name. I'm not God. Say my name. I'd have a lot of dollars. Okay, another thing that's annoying me is that they're in enemy territory, right? And they have recognizable names and titles. They're a queen and a commander of enemy armies. And they keep calling each other by their full name and title as banter. And I'm like, is no one ever able to hear you all say exactly who you are? So they've been doing this ruse long before they slept together, where they have made it look like in public they're sleeping together. Now the king is like, did you just decide she was worth something when she opened her legs? And now she's feeling betrayed that the commander must have told the king that they slept together when they've been making it public that they're sleeping together long before it was true. I don't know. Get a grip. All right, I finished it. It's 4 stars. I will read the next one. But it's not the best thing I've ever read. So I am done with part 1 of Faebound, which is like 30-something% into the book. I could do enough. I am not really into it. It's not bad. It's not terrible. It's also not even a little bit unusual to like take a while to get into fantasy books. A lot of times I will almost treat them like assigned reading for the beginning until I get to a point where I'm like, I don't like this, or I'm like hooked and really into this story, because fantasy can take quite a bit to get into. But I just don't care. So I'm like 50% through Faebound. I'm still not really into it. I don't have a reason. But I don't really want to read it. I feel like I'm only picking it up when I make myself, which again is fine. But I also feel like I've got to cut out some of these reads. So I think I might be bailing on a buddy read. I just switched to currently reading back to a want to read. I don't know. Like, I feel like I don't want to read any of the things that I have to, and the things that I have to are really adding up. And then on top of that, on top of the like multiple books that are actually needed for live shows or what have you, you know, I really want to prioritize Black authors in February. Don't really feel like that's happening super well. I mean, you know, I've read some, but not as much as I would like. And the books I actually want to read, like mood read wise at this exact moment, also don't fall into that category. So I kind of feel like all of the reading that I want to do, it doesn't get me any closer to any of my goals or things that I want to do. But I know I'm a mood reader. I know this about myself. I work hard to not allow content to get in the way of that ever. So I think at this point, it's time to quit on some stuff, which is my favorite method of dealing with overwhelm. So I'm not quitting on Faebound yet. But I'm gonna have to quit other things in order to have the bandwidth to do Faebound. So we're here to wrap up the vlog, and let's start with Faebound. I did end up DNFing this at 55%, and I feel like I kind of betrayed my morals and my ethics a little bit by trying to make myself read this book, because you all know that's not how I read. That's not how I think you should read. I think that you should DNF if you're not into a book. I don't think you should try to make a book be for you if it's just clearly not. And this just isn't. I ended up reading some spoilery reviews. I talked to Robin at Paperbacks and Planners because she read it and gave it 3 stars. I read a bunch of reviews that had a very similar reading experience to me, where they were just bored. They were bored and they didn't care. And 55% into a fantasy book, I should care. And it's not even that nothing was happening, okay? I really liked Lettel, which is the sister that is disabled. She is a diviner. She can see the future. And because of that, she gets a prophecy about how she's going to love this man and she's going to murder him, right? This is beginning of the book stuff. This is not even like the 50% spoilers. And because of the prophecy, because of all the things that she knows, not only does that get them in the situation that they're in the first place, but also now she refuses to have a relationship with him because she knows she's going to love him, and she knows that she's going to murder him, betray him. And I despise that. I do not like when a prophecy gives us spoilers for what's ahead in one sense, and also influences what the characters are going to do because they're trying to thwart the prophecy even though they know it is impossible. There is nothing that can be thwarted. The prophecy will come true. So that just really frustrates me, especially I think when it's like hurting people on purpose or refusing to have a relationship with people, or where you are, I don't know, just throwing up roadblocks that wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the prophecy. And then again, you as a believer in the fates and in the prophecy know that it will come to pass no matter what you do, no matter how you try to avoid it, it will come to pass. And I hate that. I hate that, and I really didn't like the choices that she made because of it. Like, she put him off for that specific reason, and then she was mad that he was with somebody else, but it's like, you just turned him down. I don't know. And then the other main character that we get the point of view of, so we get the point of view of both sisters. The other main character, what even is her name? Yirin. She's a warrior. She is in a relationship with the chieftain of their tribe, and they are in a centuries-long war. All of the children go to the battlefield, all of this stuff. And she just made all the worst choices. And I get that this is the beginning of a trilogy. I get that she is basically a soldier who believes in her cause, is going to eventually get disillusioned with that, and will probably fight against what she had stood for, right? But listen, okay, I read some spoilers, which I'm not going to tell you, obviously, because I didn't even make it that far. But even when she finds a whole new world, even when she finds a bunch of things that are incorrect about her beliefs, it doesn't change her decision making. And her decision making is still like, I gotta get back to my army. I've gotta, win this war. And it's like, Girl, one, you were exiled. Like, you're not even supposed to go back. Two, you have found out that the Fae still exist. You have been Faebound, as is indicated by the title of the book and trilogy. And none of that has changed your way of thinking at all. We're still gonna make the exact same choices that we would have made at the beginning of the book. And in doing so, potentially endanger everything that you love. I get, again, you're bound by prophecy. You clearly have things to do that are bad choices but must come to pass. But I can't condone it. I want my main characters to be so much smarter than everyone else. I don't want them to be dumber than everyone else. I don't want them to be the only one making these mistakes. There was a spoiler twist that I read about that I thought was a good twist, but overall, all of the reviews that I read, even the 5-star ones, did not make me want to finish this book. And I had to make myself read every page of this book, which again, like, I am morally opposed to. But it sucks because I wanted to love it. I gave this so much more of a chance than I generally do between NetGalley and this vlog. I was like, I want to finish the book, but I can tell you it's not for me. And it's not that it's not for me because it's black fae or because it's diverse or because it's sapphic. I just didn't like it. I never ever cared. And when I did care, it was annoyance is the emotion that was given to me from this book. Also, I don't have a lot of patience for characters being presented with new information that completely changes their worldview, and they don't do some internal soul searching. They don't, think, hey, maybe we should change our minds based on new to us information. I did not like this book. So who is this book for? One, it's pretty accessible fantasy writing. I also saw some people that really liked the visualization that they were able to do with The Hobbit, had similar experiences with this. So if you are a visual reader, maybe you will enjoy it a little bit more. But based on the reviews and based on my experience, I would say if you don't like it at the beginning, you're probably not going to like it the rest of the time. Because it has taken me a week to read another 20% of this book. And I have tried to be into this book. Like, you don't understand. I've been really trying. And I don't like it. And that sucks. Like, it does. I did not want to DNF this. During Black History Month? It feels like a crime. It feels like I'm doing something wrong. But here we are. Like, this is the reality of the book and me. I'm such a character-driven reader, and I never cared about them at all. And every time I did, every time I would start to, it was taken away from me with the choices made. Like, there were just so many things I was like, why would you do that though? Why would you do that? Yeah, I'm just incredibly frustrated with this one. And with my inability to enjoy it. It's a bummer. I'm really disappointed. So next we have Fear the Flames, which I did buy physically, which we all know I don't do, but I don't regret that. Even though it was just a 4-star, I'm happy to own it. The money's already spent, I'm happy to own it. I really like the cover. I really like the chapter headers, and I liked the book overall. I do definitely plan on continuing the series, like I said, but I don't know how that will go. I'll probably either continue to enjoy it at a 4-star level or DNF. I don't really see it becoming a 5-star for me. This is very much fantasy romance. It's very heavy on the romance. I would say the heaviest on the romance, even though all of these were fantasy romance. It has good banter, enemies to lovers, where they don't actively hate each other or anything, but they don't trust each other. Again, I had flaws with some of the writing, some of the TikTok stuff, some of the setup with her being imprisoned as a child and abused horribly as a child by her father, the king. I just didn't think that made a whole lot of sense. I really didn't. And by a whole lot of sense, I mean, I don't think it made any sense. I think it would have made much more sense to raise her as your daughter, because she has this bond with the dragons, right? And the whole point is the king wants the bond with the dragons broken, because otherwise she's unstoppable, basically, and it's going to take his throne. But I feel like you get more with honey than you do with vinegar. I feel like this like actual torture of a child didn't make sense to try and get that from her. And also, like, she has panic attacks, she definitely has PTSD, but overall she's so well adjusted in a lot of ways that I don't think it makes sense that your entire formative like 10 years you knew nothing but torture, and the only reason you even learned how to speak was so that you could tell them how to break the bond with the dragons. Like, I don't know. I just don't see like the...
Also, like, I'm sorry, but it doesn't make any sense that she would be physically capable. Like, you were malnourished and tortured, and like, you should have died as a child. Like, there's no reason that a infant to 10-year-old lives in these conditions, survives in these conditions. It just doesn't make sense. And if you do survive, your body is like so, like, it can't recover from being malnourished your entire growth period, right? Your entire childhood. Like, I don't know if you were going to, it doesn't make sense to go that extreme with it, because there would be even more horrible ramifications, and you are just pretending like there's not.
The extremity of the harshness that she was originally brought up in doesn't really play into who she is. Like, I really just feel like that's kind of a fatal flaw with the story. At the same time, if you take those things away, I really liked this book. Like, I loved everything else about this book. I had a really fun time. It was really readable. I wanted to pick it up every time I had to put it down. I wanted to keep reading it. I was thinking about it a lot. I liked their found family. I liked the commander and the queen's romance. I liked how they were united against everyone else when they needed to. I liked the heist part, but I really liked the alliance. Like, that works really well for me as a setup. I liked their fighting skills. I liked the knife to the throat scenes. Like, I don't know, there's a bunch of things that I really enjoy that were present here and were present in their romance and worked really well for me. They also had one of those scenes where they have to publicly be so into each other that they don't know it's anything. You know, they have to seduce each other in public. And I love those when it is like for a mission or for a front. That was one of my favorite parts of A Core Mist and Fury when I did read it, was that scene where it's a very similar premise. And I like that in any fantasy or dark romance book, mafia book, you know, anything where like you have enemies and you are trying to catch enemies and like fight against enemies, or, you know, spies and all of these things. I really enjoy that as a foil for your mission. So I really liked that. And yeah, overall, I just really liked the romance of this more so than even the plot, although I really liked the plot in the sense of the alliance and the heist. So it's a 4-star, but it's a very enjoyable 4-star. Like, it's a high 4-star for sure. It's just those couple of things really keep it from a 5 for me. And then lastly, a new favorite, Duology. One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig, the Shepherd King duology. I think about these all the time. It's been a week since I read them. I read both books in a 24-hour period. How many pages is that? That is 863 pages that I read. Bam, 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 bam. I was so into this. I didn't want to put it down for a second. I inhaled it. Again, it was so good from the very beginning, which I really liked. So the first book is The Girl with the Nightmare and the Captain of the Guard, and you really get a very interesting look into how laws are for the commoners and are for people that the king, the monarchy, the elite don't choose to make the exception of, and that those same laws and rules and absolutes don't apply to the higher classes, don't apply to the elite, don't apply to the ruling class, right? I think that that is just so consistently true in society that I like to see it kind of blatantly exposed in books. I really do like that. So there's a lot of twists and reveals in this first book. I wouldn't say that any in the first book really shocked me, but that didn't stop it from being enjoyable. I liked the way that it was built. I liked the way that it was woven together. It all worked for me. And then in the second book, you end the first book on a bit of a cliffhanger, and our main couple are split for reasons. Not like a third act breakup, but like the circumstances around them are keeping them from being together. And we switch POVs in the second book. We have 2 or 3 POVs in the second book, and that's again for reasons, and it all makes sense. But then you get like an additional romance in the second book between 2 of our side characters that we've had since the beginning, and I really like that. I thought, as particularly because of the plot, because of the things that happen, because of the cliffhanger, you needed that to keep the second book from dragging and being like, when are we gonna get back together, and you know, all of that. It worked really, really well that we added in these other POVs and this other romance. Again, like the second book has a twist on stuff that was set up in the first book that I loved, with one of the side characters that we get the POV of particularly. I really liked that we had this evil king, but like all of our characters, while they're the king's family and the king's like trusted, they are working against that. They're working against the like very unjust system of punishing everyone who gets magic, and they're also working to collect this deck of magical cards and destroy it to save the kingdom. I just like, there's nothing about this that I don't like. Nothing. I have no complaints in a 2-book, 863-page duology. I have no complaints. I love everybody. I love everything. I'm so happy. The pacing, the writing, the characters, the plot, the reveals, the twists, the ending, everything worked perfectly for me. Like, I'm thrilled. I can't wait till her next book comes out in 2025. I don't want to wait that long, I can tell you that, but still. And that's like a whole different set of characters. But this was everything that I wanted it to be. I'm so happy, so excited with it. I just want to read more fantasy. And Robin hyped this up so much, and I believed her. But I'm so happy to be right there with her. Like twinsies, we are together on this. I can't wait to buy merch. I can't wait. This is my new personality. Last year it was Mask of Mirrors. This year it's One Dark Window. No, but I don't know. This just made me incredibly happy. It's fantasy romance that I want. Y'all should read it. You should read it. You should read it right away. A bit of a mixed bag overall, liked, with the tragic exception of Faebound. But yeah, let me know if you've read these books, what you would recommend based on my enjoyment of them. I need to pick up some more fantasy romance immediately. So do give me those recommendations if you have any.
What is wrong with my eyebrow? Is this like, did I like not start the pencil? I can't unsee it.
Let me know if you also loved One Dark Window. And that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!